And I'm going to start in complete opposite places to where I started last time. So I'm going to start in the middle and then work my way out. So I'm going to start here.
Hi. I'm pleased to be able to stand here because I am very passionate, and I hope who will listen to me today. Initially, I've listened to some of the questions today, and especially this lady on this table who spoke about people that are vulnerable and don't get listened to. And I know that in my own experience as a tenant of 24 years, that some of the directors and senior management at L&Q are brilliant, and they all need applauded. But on the ground, the NHLs are struggling. And in my experience in 24 years, NHLs are not retained. They have low morale. They don't want to do the job. They feel overworked. And good ones leave. And for me, the forefront of L&Q, the face of L&Q are NHLs. And a lot of people don't know who their NHLs are. And I help a lot of vulnerable people voluntarily, single mums that have got children, because I've been in that position myself and I know what it's like. And they are bogged down with debt, problems, mental issues, because they can't cope with life. And do you know what a lot of them say when you ask them who their NHLs are? They don't know. What's an NHL? There is a problem, and that management say that NHLs are improving. When I joined the committee 2 years ago, they've got, everyone's got their phone numbers, emails, etc. They don't have them. And I think, and I plead to the directors and particularly to the owner, that NHLs need their workload reduced. They need a pay increase, and their morale needs to be lifted, because they are the forefront of L&Q. They are the face of L&Q, and there's a huge issue. And that's what I'd like to ask.
And looking around the room, I think everybody heard that, so I'll go straight to Matt.
Yep, and it's certainly, we've started carrying out a review of what the NHL role looks like. I think going back over 2 years, and on average an NHL would have 1,400 homes to look after. So we were really poor at that service. And at the moment it's about 500 to 550. So we're better, but, so it's not that we're not getting better, but I actually agree with a lot of things you've said. From our review, listening to customers, listening to teams, listening to regional committees, we've given them too much to do. So we're refocusing on what are the things that an NHL is there to do, which is about supporting vulnerable customers, being the expert in the housing management part of the service that they've got control of and deliver, but being your point of contact to draw in all those other bits of help and support. So that's their role, and we've gone slightly astray on that, and we've given them extra things and asked them to do those things. And we've got some great people in there. I'd have to say, we've got some great people who are committed and passionate, but we need to work with them to reshape what that looks like, what the capacity looks like. And I think that will get them more engaged and get them more job satisfaction and give you the service that I'm here and you want. So I agree that is an area we've started looking at, and I know we've got Christian at the far table. You can put your hand up. Who has spent the last couple of months doing a really in-depth dive into what that looks like. I mean, things like, I can tell you, the amount of inquiries that come into NHLs have gone up by between 20 and 30% in the last 12 months. But we haven't reflected that in what we expect them to be delivering. So that review will mean some changes to NHLs. We'll have to come back and talk to you about that, because WACR will be up no doubt later on this afternoon. We haven't got more money, but what we do have to do is say, right, and be adult with you and say, what do we want those NHLs doing, and what do we have to stop doing to free up and move some capacity to get them into the role that we want them doing.
For people that are vulnerable should feel that then somebody, they shouldn't have to go to the homeless team or the Helping Hands. L&Q are one of the biggest housing associations in the country. They should have a port of contact that they've got a number and an email form. I mean, some of these people don't even know how to use email. They should be able to speak to somebody that can put them in the right direction, and that is shameful of L&Q. That isn't there for those people.
Yep. It's there, but it's been too stretched. Yep. It is. Obviously, it is what we're aiming to do, but it's been too stretched, so we know they're struggling to get to that bit. So we need to listen to that and reshape that.
Can I get your response to the NHL's increased inquiries for the year? How do you
To me?
respond to that? To the increase in their need of support?
Yeah, I think there's two things for that. I mean, we've engaged some residents about what their views are on the service. We're doing sessions with the teams and with the senior leaders to get that feedback from their experience on the ground. There's two things then we need to do from that. We need to see what capacity and what their focus needs to be. So it might mean more people in that service, but we need to then take somebody out of a different service, and we need that honest discussion with you about how we reshape that, because they can't do that many tasks as well as we want them to do, and we will reshape it.
Yeah, but they are asking you
Yeah.
for support
Yeah.
for
Yes.
what they are doing.
Yes.
And we're just saying, oh, we're going to change the parameters. But you're not getting down to what the grit of what they need in action, not words.
Yeah.
Could I
I can-
also
can
give
I-
an example? Sorry.
Can I answer this one first? Then I'm more than happy to. That's all right. I can see you're passionate about it, which is great. What I would say is we are in the grit and the detail of it. So I know they do 62 tasks. I know because we've done a piece of work, they should be doing 28. I can tell you what those tasks are. So we are looking at the detail and we will reshape it so that they're focusing on those 28 things that you're telling us and they're telling us they should be doing. And we'll figure out how we stop doing some of the things that aren't given the value they need to do. So I am in the detail. Christian, I know, is living it. And we are really looking at how we reshape that. So, it's a passionate thing and I am listening.
And will you communicate that to us?
Will I communicate to you? To the residents? Yes. Yes. Yeah. We're in the middle of the review now. But once we look at what that answer to that looks like, we will make sure we come out to people and tell you what that looks like and what's changed.
Okay, so we've got one resident over here, and I'm then keen to just get some questions from this side of the room because I know just to make sure everyone gets a fair chance to have a chat. But go ahead.
I just wanted to get just one example for my local NHL. I was told by her that as much as she is passionate about wanting to help the residents, but the letters that she had to deliver, like rather than Royal Mail and delivering letters to residents, she was given the duty and task to personally post the letters to all the residents herself. Now, if she's going to be doing that, when is she going to spend time listening to the residents' voices and the vulnerable members or anyone's who are any tendency to have raised issues?
Yeah.
Because she's spending her time writing letters, delivering personally herself to all the block that's under her care. She has hosted them individually herself. Surely that's a Royal Mail job.
Yeah, and that's where we need to be smarter about what we're doing, because one thing that we have literally just agreed is a different way of delivering those type of bulk letters. So we need to start using technology, and we've just agreed literally in the past month or two to come up with an automated way for an external company to do those for us better, to free up people time. So they're the sort of things we genuinely are listening to residents and to NHLs about what can we take off those 62 tasks to get them focused on the 28 that matter.
I'm going to look at this side of the room because I just want to make sure we get questions from all around. So from this side of the room, is there? I'll go this table here.
Shall I stand up? Hi everyone, I'm Faith Lake and I'm one of the resident board members with the residents in 1984. So my other question collectively here is how are we making sure complaints are being taken seriously, thinking especially about quality assurance, training, external interaction with the ombudsman and media. So what we're saying is that we should, as residents, have to go to the media and the ombudsman to get our complaints heard.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's going to be one for Tom soon as well, by the way, just for the other tables. I think it's a good question. We've been living complaint management for the past 12 months, right through from the board, right through to the service. We've put 40% more resources in there because we just did not have the capacity to deal with them effectively. There were no quality checks going on. We've had to retrain everybody, and we've now got quality checks in those with phone calls to follow up with a proportion to see where it's gone wrong and listen to the feedback. The bit about the Ombudsman's important because for those of you who aren't aware, last year we had a report from the Ombudsman which was very critical, and rightly so, about our complaints management. We meet with them regularly and they put in place an action plan of things that they are wanting us to do. The good news is, about 2 months ago, they met with us and said, we're satisfied because they've been monitoring and scrutinising that plan alongside our resident service board, which we come back to every quarter to say, I can see you're taking this seriously and you're making enough progress. We don't need to monitor the plan anymore. Now, interestingly, we went back to them to say, well, that's great, but we're not satisfied yet because we still have that focus on getting that improvement even better. And even as recently as yesterday, I met one of the directors in the Ombudsman to talk about, well, this is the improvement we've made. How can we work together? What are they doing that we can learn from? What are we doing that they can share with? So we still meet with them regularly. And as I say, I met a director yesterday to talk about their backlog in dealing with their cases and how can we help them to do that by batch and how we deal with a number of customers in one go for the same sort of issues. So it has been taken seriously. It will be taken seriously going forward. And next year I'm expecting to be up here and have a much better service about what we're delivering.
Just to add to that, can I just to add to that? I mean, I think Matt's talked about the sort of the retraining that we're doing in terms of the complaints piece, but just to give you sort of reassurance how seriously we take it. I mean, as the HR director, I've never really had to deal with a customer complaining. Obviously, I deal with colleagues who are not happy, and that's part of my role. But actually, one of the things that Fiona was keen to do is make sure we all understood what it felt like from those customers who were involved in that. And so as the exec lead for HR, I found myself speaking, talking, listening and understanding how those experiences had been. And it wasn't just me, that was the whole of the exec and wider leaders as well. And I think that was really insightful for us as a team to make sure we really can sort of feel the pain.
Can I ask, does anyone have a question that is directed more people and culture towards Tom? Oh, I'm going to go over to this table first.
Linda's running from Shadow and a leaseholder, and my question is about, so we receive a service charge bill every year, which tends to be all sorts of wrong. There's not enough scrutiny about the service charge bills, and the answers I get from the service charge team is, well, that's the information we're given from repairs, we just send you a bill. What is in place to improve communication between teams within L&Q? Because it seems to me the service charge team are over there, the repairs team are over there, and the team over there, and everybody's doing their own thing. They send each other emails, but there doesn't seem to be communication, and they sort of, I don't want to say blame each other, but they're sort of saying, well, that's what we got from the repairs team. Well, if it's 400% more than last year, do you not think you should give someone a ring and say, are you sure this figure is right? Is there not an extra zero? Now they just bill us. Yeah. Then I have a running spreadsheet, I send in a complaint, we get a refund. Not everyone has the time and doesn't to be sitting with a spreadsheet every year and writing 3-page complaints. Frankly, I don't enjoy it, but if I can get £100 back, I will. But it's more this, is what I sense, is this, well, we can't possibly talk to this other team. Why? That would be just soldier there.
I'm just going to give the essence of that in case anybody down the other end didn't get that one. So it's about the example came from service charges of how the real feeling that teams don't talk to each other in L&Q, which then bubbles up in the service that you receive, particularly in the service charge area, but more generally, what does that mean for the culture of people just taking responsibility for their bit and forgetting about the whole picture and that?
They feel they're not being communicated. Yeah,
to me.
So I mean, so it's a two-pronged thing. I mean, for the people in I'm going to go Matt first and then Tom, I think.
Yeah. No, I thought it was an HROD question, but I probably need to step in and help with this. Everything that you say in there sounds familiar to the review we've carried out, which isn't a consolation, but what does tell me is we're not a million miles away from what we're working on the right things. So this year we carried out a review of our managing agent service. And what it told us is 1 in 5 customers get services not from us, and when we bill them the service charges. But it also showed a massive gap for us. So you're right, we don't connect the dots with other services as well. It is difficult for leaseholders and shared owners to know where to go with their question because you get bounced around. We went to the leaseholder forum and shared this with them and asked them the questions around this. The neighbourhood leads, that's on their one list of 28 things I think they should be looking at, but they're not getting to. So that has a role to play and is linked. And crucially, when those service charges come in, particularly where we don't own the building or deliver the service, we didn't have a team in place to scrutinise them systematically, to pull out the exceptions where it looked particularly high as part of that billing process. We're doing it retrospectively. So we do it, but it causes customers a lot of pain, and it causes our colleagues a lot of pain in doing that. So we're putting in place, and it'll be in place by December, a home ownership and leaseholder team. So that will have the service charges team within it. It'll have a specialist team who deal with leaseholder advice services, and it'll have a brand new team in there that will scrutinise and deal with the contracts with managing agents and pick out by exception the bits that look really high and be a place where they can be picked out with capacity to do that and to build the relationships with the managing agents. Because at the moment that's dispersed across 190 NHLs and that's not working effectively. So that's what we're putting in place, and I expect we're further forward next year, and then we'll review that and see what's worked and what hasn't and fix that again. What I also know is we're leading a piece of work with all of the biggest landlords in London called the G15 to review how we could be delivering that service better. Why have service charges gone up so much? Because we know they've outpaced inflation, but things like insurance have gone up by about 90-odd%, energy costs more than inflation. So, but we're getting some research that we're going to lead to try and understand that better and think about how can we manage that better with customers.
Sorry, can I just add to this, please? Quick question about this land management contracts team that I know that in term by. My specific question, why is this excluding social housing residents? Because they're also impacted by service charging, these kind of contracts. I don't want to mix 10-year schemes, so we have big leaseholders and social housing residents.
Yeah.
And so there's, you know, if you think about it like a Venn diagram, they're right in the middle. And so for what you've said, it sounds to me that it's actually this service that will provide or will provide is actually the music to leaseholders and shared ownership in the residents. I think that's extremely problematic. And myself and you don't want to know the numbers of X amount of residents. When the police have asked things to NHLs over the last 4 years have been service charge orientated to everything that you've already.
Yeah, the link for that for rented customers is your local neighbourhood housing lead, because they need to work with that leaseholder. It won't be, no, because between the homeowner and leaseholder service team that we put in place, if there's an issue in an estate, we don't just look at it for leasehold and shared owners. That discussion with the management agent will cover the issues for customers who are renting the property at the same time. So they will have to work really closely. And the issues that shared owners and leaseholders raise are predominantly the same issues that rented customers raise particularly in terms of the quality of the services. So we'll be picking out those same trends, and the neighbourhood leads, who will be the specialist in that area, will be part of that discussion to make sure we pick up rented customers' inquiries. That's the role of those neighbourhood leads.
Sorry, I don't understand the rationale behind that separation. Happy to just about to answer the question, but don't understand.
Can I just ask though, if you haven't got a housing lead and haven't had a housing lead for a long, long time, who do you go to then?
Yeah.
Good question. Yeah. Good question. So I've got an answer, but we haven't worked out the detail of it yet. So you're right, we have about a 10% vacancy gap on our neighbourhood housing leads at any point in time, and about a 10% turnover, which is broadly average to the rest of the business. But what we do find is people come in and leave quite quickly sometimes, so that's a higher proportion. Now, we've done some, as part of the review, we've done some external learning about how do others deal with this. And they do that by having a pool of 10% extra who are floating NHLs, because we know naturally there's turnover in posts that we get. And sometimes it's good news because they go on to positive promotion posts as well, which is good. which doesn't help you as a customer though. So we're thinking about, as well as what the patch sizes look like, how do we have that flexible resource? Because we know there will always be gaps, whether it's annual leave, sickness or turnover. So that's part of something we've learned from a visit elsewhere as part of this review. But we haven't got it in place yet.
Which one? See, if you have ones levels studying them, you have them, will make the don't know all the out.
Again, so the big issue of just not knowing who the neighbourhood housing leads are, and I think, you know, it's come as a fairly consistent theme throughout the questioning today, that real visibility of the neighbourhood housing leads, that we really need, this review needs to really crack that issue of that. It's really, really very important. Now, I'm mindful of timings. I would like to take 2 more questions, because we got to talk about the money, and the money, everyone likes to hear about the money. And so we've got 2 more questions. I would ideally like it if someone's got one that's really directed at Tom, so something really people-oriented. We've got this table nodding over here, so, and one over there as well. So we'll take those two questions, and then we'll move on. So from this table over here first.
Okay, so this time off with Steve at the they was thinking about how people working about the agencies to improve safety and need, but it's also thinking about how are you helping to improve safety and welfare of neighbourhood housing leads, and how are you making sure that NHLs that we give with handle complaints and have to actually have the training and support. Yeah.
So the question here is about how are you making sure you're looking after the welfare of people who do these quite difficult jobs, and also have the skills and knowledge they need, particularly neighbourhood housing leads and people handling complaints. They are tough jobs and important jobs. So I'm going to hand over to Tom on that, plus caretakers.
Yeah, I think that the whole health and wellbeing agenda is such an important one for all of our frontline colleagues and everyone at L&Q, and it's something that we have been investing in hugely. We've got a huge programme that we have implemented across the board, and we haven't just implemented it, we've listened. In the same way that we're listening to you as our customers, we're listening to our people. So earlier on I talked about things such as the Great Places to Work surveys, but what we also do is a stress and wellbeing survey that's actually just been undertaken in the last few weeks, and it's the second one that we've done. And we use the feedback from that to look at what we need to be doing across the organisation in terms of our plans around health and wellbeing, and what initiatives we need to put in place. We also look and say, well, actually, are there particular parts of the business where there's an adverse sort of variance in terms of how people are and how they're responding? And we know that, you know, I think we've got a great culture at L&Q, but at the same time, it's not a consistent culture, and it's not as good as it should be in some areas. And some of those challenges we know exist in for example, customer services, and so those neighbourhood housing leads. And so, you know, what we do, we've got a programme that we call iMatter that runs across the whole of the year, and we put in specific initiatives, and equally we call out particular initiatives to support certain groups of staff as well. That's coupled with you know, a real investment in leadership training. And when I say leadership training, you know, it's about the leaders now and it's about the leaders for tomorrow, and ensuring that our people really are able to have a really good conversation with their colleagues. I talked earlier about the performance management conversations. You know, every conversation that we have in that space also talks about health and wellbeing. It asks you as an individual to give some forethought to, you know, how you are, what's happening for you. And that's something that we build into those conversations on a regular basis. And of course, we've got, you know, all of the support mechanisms that you might expect from an employer the size of L&Q, such as an employee assistance programme, a health and wellbeing programme. We've got a HR function that supports our managers. But equally, every manager in L&Q is trained on health and wellbeing. We've also got various champions that will support people. We've just launched Men's Buddies because it's mental health. It's Men's Health Month this month. We run programs as part of our different network groups that we have for colleagues, and we encourage colleagues to join in those events as well. So there's a really a vast array of different initiatives, but it does come down to having brilliant leaders and brilliant managers, and that's why I said earlier on it's so important to be investing in those people, because they make the difference. You know, we've all worked for good managers, we've all worked for bad managers, and we've all left them. So I think that for me is a huge investment that's worth making.
I was really proud when I heard about some of the initiatives like doing men's mental health with guys who work out in vans and taking the stuff to them rather than expecting them to come in. Really positive, important things to help colleagues support colleagues. Right, this is the last question from this table over here, and then we'll
move on. So I'm just going to stand up. I've got a bit of a frog in my throat. So my question is, how do you make sure that your values are embedded throughout NHLs and that our expectations as residents are managed?
Okay. So I'll just repeat that for everybody. How do you make sure the values are embedded in L&Q and expectations managed about what we can and can't do?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I was saying earlier. We kind of look at those values. They are so important for us. And we look when we hire, you know, actually we're now introducing we've always looked to hire for the values, for the behaviours that we want to see, but we're now using tools to help us do that as well, to test, to weed out those people that don't actually meet those behaviours. That's something that we're doing at the moment. We reward based on those behaviours, and that's another important thing, really, just, you know, pulling up role models of people that are going the extra mile and sharing those success stories with the rest of the business. You know, we manage the training, the induction, all of the training that we're doing across the organisation, whether that's for frontline colleagues or whether it's for leadership training. It's all been built around those behaviours that we want to see. And equally, you know, the performance conversations is kind of pulling out that. It's front and centre. You know, we have a performance-related pay system for our colleagues. They are graded based on their behaviours. And so, you know, we're rewarding great behaviour. We're sharing role models. We've also got a cultural programme, a cultural change programme, Let's Make It Happen, that really is driving forward and really sharing the success stories that we've got across L&Q of, you know, where it is working well. But of course, it also comes down to managing performance as well, and we are managing that performance and challenging colleagues, calling out bad behaviours. That's a really important part, and then challenging people and managing performance robustly as well.
Okay, thank you. And I'd just like to say thank you again to you, because it was really deep and important and insightful questions coming from the floor, really, really valuable. And also thank you to Tom and Matt.